on-site parking spaces are required, and from ACC 230801D to allow 20 off-site deed-restricted parking spaces 560 feet from the property, where off-site deed-restricted parking must be within 250 feet. I would like to note that there are some balconies that will overhang the city right-of-way that will eventually, if everything goes through, require a revocable license from City Council. And I believe this will probably trigger a Title 41 site review process as well. This project will. So this is the first step of going through that. The project did, or the site did receive a variance, case number 1008V in June of 2010 for the 37 parking spaces when the entire structure at that time was proposed to be commercial. So,
okay, it was then a restaurant bar.
Yeah, this was 2 years ago when the building became vacant. I believe the bank did come in and request a variance for parking for the structure that at that time was granted. So, for 37 parking spaces.
Okay, you're going to have to say that again for me. I'm not sure I understood what you said.
June 8, 2010, the applicant at that time made a variance request for 37 or for 0 parking spaces, right. 37 is required, and the same thing on the side yard setbacks.
Okay.
So,
but the use of the property was different.
The use at the time was being presented that the entire building would be commercial.
Okay. All right. Anything else we need to know before we begin?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Who would?
Question.
Yes.
I just want to verify, John, that the 20 off-site parking that is available now is deed restricted.
It will be. It has not been.
It will be, okay.
But it will be under one of the partners of the project, I believe, is ownership of that parking lot 560 feet away.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So who would like to introduce us from the applicant's point of view? Would you introduce yourself and give us your address?
Madam President, other members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I am Chris Gehrig, here on behalf of Kassler Construction and Bart Kassler. My location is 3 West Stimson Avenue here in Athens.
Thank you.
By my approach, I have some pictures that might help answer my question.
Okay.
Here we have 2 copies of the building as it's presently situated, and then you may have seen some of the plans as part of your packet, but here's a larger scale rendering.
Yes, we have this in our packet, just a little bit smaller.
Okay.
See that one? You did see this one. Okay. Stick it up here so we can admire it.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this tonight. Hopefully the board will find that this is a modest request on behalf of the present owner and the potential new occupant, Kassler Construction, and some of his other potential owners who might be purchasing the property. We would submit to you that the request we are making tonight is in fact far less onerous than what was originally presented to the board 2 years ago when I came before the board and asked for 37 waiver of the 37 parking spaces at that time. You correctly note that part of the plan, the vision that we're bringing forward tonight will require 20 parking spaces to be deed restricted. We would ensure that those were submitted to Mr. Paskey and received his approval before going forward with the project as far as any kind of stipulation you'd care to add to your variance that we were kind enough to grant that tonight. With regard to the spacing and bolt controls, I would hold out to you that the size, the construction of the building is such that it would be impossible to do anything in conformance of code as the building presently sits, taking the building down. It's a 1920 era building. It's very large. They weren't anticipating setbacks at that point, and I would be hard pressed to think of how we could ever bring that building in conformance with regard to that point. It's perhaps important to note when we talk about being potentially detrimental to the public welfare that this project has been enthusiastically embraced by the community. You have multiple letters of support from neighbors and important institutional entities in Athens, such as the Chamber of Commerce, our Historical Society, which incidentally is located very close to the building. I think the thinking is that this is not a particularly attractive building as it's presently situated. It has an opportunity to be something to be a great part of the future of Athens as far as our comprehensive plan envisions what Uptown might look at some point. Certainly the use of student housing, as far as some of the upper floors goes, is consistent with the comprehensive plan of trying to locate student density closer to High University in the Uptown area. We would note that the footprint, the height of the building is in essence going to be very similar to what's in place before, and in fact the large overhang that's presently grandfathered in, as far as it is presently situated, will be significantly reduced as far as its scope goes. We would further submit to the board, this is the minimum variance we could really ask for to allow the architect to complete his plans as far as the vision that would allow this to be reasonably used as far as it's presently set out. Finally, we would note that we don't feel we're asking for any kind of special privilege. The board certainly viewed this favorably the last time we were before. Regrettably, we weren't able to find a commercial tenant that wished to purchase the property under the circumstances that we requested the last time. This presents the Athens community with an opportunity to have a greatly improved building. It will be vibrant, it will not be empty, and it will be a great addition to Uptown Athens.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Mr. Gary? Okay, thank you very much. We may call you back later. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of these variances? Yes. Will you come forward, introduce yourself, tell us your address?
Good evening. I'm Wendy Jackness, President of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, located at 449 East State Street.
Thank you.
Good things are happening here in Athens. Our local war campaign, 30-mile meal, and our farmers market continue to receive national attention. OU football and basketball have had remarkable seasons, and both of our healthcare facilities, Holzer Health and the Blennis Health Systems, are expanding and bringing doctors into our area where once we had to leave Athens County to seek specialty healthcare services. Yesterday, I read an article celebrating Donkey Coffee's 10th anniversary, complete with pictures of their new balcony and second-floor patio. The refurbishments of both the People's Bank and Pigskin buildings have enhanced the look of Uptown Athens. In my position as president of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, it absolutely thrills me to see the transformation of 3 such buildings from tired and defaced with graffiti, drab, and in some cases dilapidated, to attractive, multi-purposeful sites that speak directly to the recommendations cited in the Commission's comprehensive plan. I applaud the efforts of the current city administration, its various departments, committees, and boards such as yours that work together with our local developers and small business community to rehab and revitalize the Uptown area that is so unique and sets us apart from other small cities in a very positive way. However, we can't stop there and rest on our laurels because we can't afford aesthetically or financially to have this building lay absolutely, positively vacant with no income stream at all. At least the Burger King and the Woolworth building receive rental income to help maintain the properties and keep them looking presentable, barring empty storefronts. Your support for this variance, as well as the past projects I mentioned earlier, are very greatly appreciated. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Do you have questions? Anyone? Okay, all right. Thank you for your statement. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Luce.
I'm Ron Luce. I'm with the Athens County Historical Society and Museum, 65 North Court Street, and spend a lot of my life right next door to what I call the Big Blue Monstrosity. The building as it currently stands is very unattractive. It does not fit in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, with the rest of the buildings on Court Street. The model that I have seen suggests a very attractive building, very consistent with the buildings on North Court Street. I believe the design would greatly enhance that end of town. From my own perspective, being right there, I don't see, having lived next to it, I don't see any possibility for something else coming along that is going to not be a lot of problems with parking. There is no parking in that location. It's an old building, and the folks planning this, I think, have come up with a decent plan for making this into a usable building and a much more attractive building. So I see nothing but positives in what they're attempting to do.
Questions? Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of these variances? Anyone wishing to speak in general comment? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the variances? Yes. Introduce yourself. Give us your address, please.
My name is Kay Ledwith, and I'm one of the neighbors who's not for this. I have the apartment building that is located behind 64 North Court, which was built without any variances. And I think that if you allow this building, I have 18 bedrooms. If you allow this building with 20 bedrooms to get these 3 variances, you're giving them definitely an unfair advantage over me. And I have no objection to the restaurant parking variances, that's fine. But raising up another floor and all the 3 variances requested, I'm opposed to.
Okay. I had a question. I'll think of it again in a minute. When you say your building was built without any variances, can you be more specific about that? Is it a newer building than this one?
Yeah, it's, I think it's about 7 years old.
Okay. Okay.
6 units, 6 3-bedroom units.
Okay.
It's got the 10 feet all the way around.
Okay.
I had 18 bedrooms and 18 on-site parking spaces.
Okay. Was that possible simply because it was a new building to have the setbacks and the and the parking? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. It is more difficult when the building is already in place and you have to make allowances, but I understand your position.
Right, but to have 20 people living across the street with no parking, every time they go to the grocery store, there's going to be a problem. They're going to, you've got all those apartments and all those people. It isn't easy to haul your groceries from over on Carpenter Street.
Sure. Any questions, anybody? Comments? Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, Mr. Gehrig, would you like to come back to us?
Thank you again for the opportunity to present tonight. I think our neighbor raises a good point, and we've sincerely tried to present an option to the board that hopefully addresses this about as well as I would submit to the board it could be addressed, which is we have agreed to deed restrict 20 parking spaces that while they are not within 250 feet required under the code, they're pretty darn close. And I would hold out to the board that it would simply be impractical with this 1920 era building to come up with a way to fit parking onto this lot, to find, with Athens as it's presently configured, parking that falls within that 250 feet. We would hold out to the board that this is a great project, that it's also perhaps important to know that we haven't, for whatever students that are going to have required parking, this variance request will take care of all of them. We're not asking to waive parking spaces. We're simply asking the board to allow them to walk a few extra feet.
Well, the requirement is for 38 parking spaces, and you and your investors and applicants are saying that they can provide 20. So you're minus 18.
Well,
We haven't sort of addressed that.
well, but the 20 parking spaces are what are required for the number of tenants
Right.
that we would have on site. The rest of the parking would be for the use of the remainder of the building.
Yes.
The entertainment, restaurant, whatever commercial venue would go into
Okay.
the lower
Well,
level of the building.
we're going to have to ask Mr. Paskey, or I'm going to have to ask Mr. Paskey how you can separate these things. Well, we'll just ask him, okay? So
Sure.
that's one of my concerns is that for the building, you need 38. For the upstairs, you can provide 20, but the building is really, I think, what we're talking about, not just the upstairs, unless Mr. Paskey can clarify that.
The 20 parking spaces would be deed restricted, would be for the residential.
Only for the residential, and then...
Residential, and we would
Okay.
verify that yearly with our annual inspections, et cetera.
Okay, so then we're not addressing the need for the 18 that would go with whatever
They are not
commercial
addressing
business?
the need for the 18 for the
Okay,
first floor.
so then when a commercial thing came into the bottom, then they would have to address that at some later point?
No, that's one of the things that the variance is granting right now.
Yes, okay. So you're giving 20 for the whole thing to take care of the people who would be in the residential part, and then saying you didn't need any for the rest of the building?
That is correct.
Okay,
The rest of the,
okay.
we'd be saying we didn't need.
Okay, so whatever businesses downstairs would not have any parking provided,
I
which,
calculated at the lower level, at the highest use possible, one for
Okay.
200 square feet of the space available, which come out to 18 parking spaces for the first floor. And that
Okay.
would be for the most prominent, or most occupancy use
Okay.
that could fit in there.
well, and certainly other businesses don't necessarily have on-site parking, so I'm not sure that it's that unusual, but I wanted to straighten that out. Any other questions, comments from the rest of you?
The letter from Value Reynolds doesn't stipulate that it would be deed restricted parking.
We would be very happy for you to stipulate as part of any variance that was granted that the legal mechanism that deed restricts that or whatever other method that the code might require, that we would submit that to their satisfaction.
And Value Parking is prepared to do that.
They are prepared to do it.
And have you exhausted the search for finding possibly any other place closer, or maybe even more spaces, or this is the absolute minimum?
Parking, as you know, is a scarce commodity.
But have you searched for other?
They've contacted multiple parties, and this has proven to be not only the best, if not only, fit
Okay.
for this particular project.
And I would like to add that if it wasn't in the same ownership, it too would require a variance, because
Yes.
there'd be leased parking at that point. So if it was closer, it too would require a variance.
Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and express my other concerns, and then the board can discuss them as we come along, but I do want to just put them out there. This is described as a very modest proposal, and I understand that from your point of view. I don't know that it's entirely a modest proposal, because it involves adding a third floor of 2,800 square feet and an additional 10 tenants. So if you didn't add that expensive third floor, you might not need to even worry about the parking very much. You would have all the 20 that you need, and it would be a more modest proposal.
Your point's well taken on that, but...
I think I know the answer you're going to give me, but I do want to put it out there that it may not be the minimum variance that we could give.
For this project to work as the architect has envisioned it, we have to have, and I would...
I understand. could
You
quote
have
that myself.
to commit the resources to do the remodeling effort and the totality of the project. This is really the minimum we have to have in order for it to go forward.
I understand. I could say that myself. I could quote it. Okay. But thank you for
And I've done enough of
for
these,
iterating it for us.
Madam President, that I know you probably could have recited it as well.
Okay. Anybody else got comments you want to
If that
address?
makes it sound more minimum, if we say that the 20 leased or deed restricted spaces were within 250 feet, we wouldn't be discussing it then.
No, we would
No,
still
we could still
have,
discuss it.
No, for the 20 for the residential.
Well,
They're hiding the business 18.
right, they're just not providing the 18 that might, say 15 to 18 that might be required for the business. I guess,
if I might point out, though, I would submit to the board that you did grant 37 spaces.
that is over and done.
Indeed, but I just wanted to point out that our
Sure.
request would not be inconsistent.
I know.
with
Okay.
what had been favorably
Right.
considered by the board.
My other concern, and I'll go ahead and say it now too, and my companions can argue too, I think it has been a very sad thing for downtown Athens to have the Woolworth building sit as it sits, with ugly poles sticking out, which you're not proposing to do, but with an absolutely empty, unused first floor and basement floor. So huge amounts of square footage is empty. And that's sad because it looks sad. It's all boarded up on the first floor. And of course, Burger King is the same sort of situation. There's something upstairs, but the business itself doesn't exist downstairs. So I would like to have some assurance that this isn't intended to just be a residential entity with an empty, possibly occupiable downstairs. I'd like to know that there would in fact be a business there in some reasonable length of time.
It's absolutely part of the plan to have this occupied. There'd be no financial incentive whatsoever for my clients to have this sit empty. I can't promise you because we can't identify the tenant yet.
Sure.
But to have an empty space when it would serve nobody, they'd just be paying tax.
Well, I understand, but it is working for two other businesses on Court Street to the detriment of the look of the street and to other businesses that might draw customers from other people coming to those businesses. So,
It will be an attractive commercial space. I think it's certainly their objective not to have it sit empty.
okay.
And there'd be no financial incentive for them to allow it to sit empty.
Well, of course not, but things are in that shape in some parts of Court Street, so, yeah. Okay. Anything else, anybody? Yes, Mayor.
The plans that we've been shown in the paperwork we've seen about the units, the rental units, talks about 2 5-bedroom apartments on each floor, yet the drawing plans we have, the footprint, we would call it, shows on the second floor 2 4-bedroom and 1 2-bedroom. So I'm wondering which is accurate, and if the 3-unit configuration is accurate for the second floor, is the 2-bedroom unit meet the square footage requirements of the code?
Any inconsistency has caught me off guard with regard to that, other than I would say that whatever those plans are, as far as that goes, we're not asking for a variance on the plans themselves, so final plans will need to be approved by code as far as those bedrooms go and the actual floor plan that is used to occupy that space.
I did have the same question, because we are told 2 5-bedroom apartments, and it is, as Mr. Mayor described it, at least on our plan, unless Mr. Valentin wants to speak to that.
Do you have any clarification you might be able to add?
First of all, John Valentour, RBC Architects.
Will you give us your name and
Excuse me?
address, name and address?
John Valentour, 131 West State Street, RBC Architects. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
The floor plans that we received show for the second floor 2 4-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit. And if that is true, does that 2-bedroom unit meet the minimum requirements, the square footage requirements of the code?
It exceeds the requirements.
So that anyone does?
in terms of square footage for the bedrooms and the unit itself, it exceeds the code requirements from the city of Athens. Yes.
I guess
70
the-
square foot is all that's required.
Yeah, I guess the question was just, why was it described one way and then presented another, and perhaps it doesn't matter at all?
Well, I
That's-
think we made some modifications,
Okay.
I think, based on demographics of what kind of units that they were looking for to incorporate a 2-bedroom and 2 4s and 2 5s into this building. You know, and one thing too, I mean, I'm sure, as Chris indicated, we were trying to keep the profile of this building, even though it is 3 stories, we have set back that 3rd story 14 feet from Court Street. So it's not, as a matter of fact, the image, and you can see that from the drawings that you've got,
Right.
and the existing building, we're actually going to reduce the height of this building as it sits on Court Street. Currently, the building is higher than Ron's building at the Historical Society. The new plan calls for that elevation actually to be lowered, so that from the street elevation, the building is not going to appear any bigger. It's going to appear smaller.
Well, I guess that wasn't one of my concerns, but good.
I'm just telling you.
Other things that board members would like to ask while we have the opportunity to do so. Thank you, Jim.
I would also be remiss to point out that when we talk about the neighbors that are in favor of this, that we had none other than Casa Nueva express their support, along with Mr. Sylvester.
Yes, I'm going to read Mr. Sylvester's note right now. This would be in favor. I'm writing to you in favor of Joe Kraus' purchase of the Blue Gator property. I've known Mr. Kraus since he's come to Athens and have been impressed with what he's done to improve the properties he's purchased. I think he would do a great job revitalizing the Blue Gator and removing a closed 3-year eyesore. He takes pride in his properties and does a good job managing them. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I'm not sure why he thinks it's Mr. Kraus. Perhaps it is. Counselor?
I think, well, it may have been intended.
Okay.
I think the intent is
I think so,
correct,
too.
regardless of who it was.
And here is one from Josh Brown, who is the CEO of CASA. I'd like to express my desire for code enforcement to approve Joe Kraus's request for a parking variance for the old Blue Gator building. I've known Joe for 6 years. I know he has the best interest for our community in mind. He will be part of a team that will help restore what I see as frankly an eyesore in the uptown area. Having been a prior employee of the Blue Gator, I also have a desire to see it occupied once again. There's precedence for this type of variance with Rick Wasserman in the Pigskin. Lastly, as a fellow Athens business owner, I would like to see Uptown be a vibrant, locally owned environment. Allowing the variance would achieve those goals. Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I thank the board for their consideration. Unless there's any other questions.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we will close the board, close the floor from discussion, and the board will deliberate and see what seems to be in order. So, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I move to grant the variance to the property at 63 North Court Street from ACC 23-1001A schedule of bulk controls to allow remodeling of the structure with the first floor business use to also have 4 apartments with 20 total tenants with 0 side yard setback, with a minimum of 10 feet on one side and 15 feet total feet on both sides is the minimum requirement. And from ACC 23-1001B Office Street parking requirements to allow 0 on-site parking spaces where 38 on-site parking spaces are required. And from ACC 23-0801D to allow 20 off-site deed-restricted parking spaces 560 feet from the property, where off-street or where off-site deed-restricted parking must be within 250 feet.
I would ask you make one change real quick to say 5 apartments with that alteration they did.
Okay, we'll change the 4 apartments to 5 apartments.
Actually, I think it is, it's 3 on the second floor. 1, 2, 3. And then 2 above, so it's 5. Okay, thank you. That's right. Okay, 5.
Or 6.
No, it's 5. Okay. So we'll amend that to 5.
To amend to 5.
Should you add a little counsel in there about the balcony?
Yeah, I think so.
Please note the proposed front balcony will overhang the city right-of-way 3 feet and will require a revocable license from Athens City Council.
Okay, do you want to put any conditions on this at all? That the code office may have proof, as they have promised, from the parking people for the...
The code is the law.
You don't think so? Well, sometimes we add conditions. Don't think we need any?
I
All right.
think this is good.
All right, second for the motion.
I second.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you want to discuss this at all, or you just want to go through the findings? Okay. The first one, which you have already heard us labor through, practical difficulty and undue hardship because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to the property. A literal enforcement of the regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is not necessary to achieve public purposes.
Well, the property can be used with less number of...
Well, that's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about, there are, sure.
The setbacks can't be changed.
Okay, there are exceptional circumstances. It's an
There are
old
exceptional
building.
circumstances,
The setbacks cannot
It's
be
already
changed,
there.
sure. So the only question is whether a literal enforcement of the regulations, including the parking, will make an undue hardship that we don't have to make. I think, okay. But there are circumstances that would say we would be creating a hardship that we don't really have to in this case. Exceptional circumstances. What are these exceptional or extraordinary circumstances applying to the property in question or the intended use that do not generally apply to properties or classes or uses in the same zone?
Well, its intended use now has changed from its original intended use. So
Does that make it exceptional?
that doesn't make it exceptional. They just changed their mind. The exceptional, again, is the setbacks can't be moved. The parking can't be met.
Is that different from any other property?
Not really. It's the same as all the other properties that would be in that zone, in that area.
Okay, but it is certainly a difficulty, and in the downtown area, it's not that exceptional, but it is a circumstance that can't be changed. Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of the regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while granting the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity.
Well, I think it would grant special privileges, especially with the parking. I mean, that's a given due to the distance away. I don't feel that it's, what was the word, meager?
Modest.
Modest,
Yes, okay.
by any means.
Well,
It's not special in terms of what other residential areas of their apartments have, because you've got, we talked about Woolworths, the apartments above there. Not all their spaces are available on site. Some of those are remote.
yes, they are.
Down above Brony's, you've got apartments which are, don't have the parking right there, they have
Across the
waiting there.
street. Sure.
There's a number of other places in that area that
Yes.
have that same situation.
That's exactly
I
true.
think it's not an extreme privilege, but
Well, and I think we did hear testimony that this would create a privilege, but the building that was being discussed in comparison is a newer building where there was space for parking. In this case, it's an older building, there isn't any parking. Now, here we come to one of my objections. You can talk over it if you want to. minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property.
I feel it's quite minimum, but I can't say fine.
I think it is too. I think the effort that you would have to put into renovating that old, falling apart, very needy building would require that you have a project of this size.
That you would have 10 apartments rather than 5, and 20 tenants rather than 10.
I would think so.
Okay, all right. Absence of detriment, the authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property, will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. And I think we've heard plenty of testimony that it is in the interest of downtown businesses and the town itself to have a project take over this building and improve it. Not of a general nature, the condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of the said property for which the variance is sought is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. No.
No.
Okay. All right, any other comments you wish to make?
I would make one comment.
Yes.
That from my past experience, the parking on that block of North Court Street in the daytime is probably underutilized.
That's true.
So I don't think it would create a hardship on that area.
So you're thinking if a business were in there, they would have parking on the street?
I believe they would. At nighttime with all the bars like that, it's a different situation.
Yeah, and if they chose to put in a restaurant, then everybody has to fight for their own place.
The parking to limited to 2 hours is what is
Not after 6,
Not
I
after
don't think.
5 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
for the business part, I mean. So an employee can just park in there for all day.
You know, they have to move at least 2 spaces away.
Anything else? Okay, let us start with Mr. Lavelle.
I vote no.
I would, yes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
I vote yes.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I have the privilege of voting no because you do have the variance. So, Mr. Paskey will give you the pieces of paper that you need. We wish you well. We hope you get a tenant in the downstairs. Okay. Anybody read the minutes for us?
Yes.
Can we approve the minutes as read? Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I have one. If you guys, I can't hear. Are you done? Or?
Yeah, we approved the minutes?
I just want to, did you approve the minutes?
Yes, we did.
Who made a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to bring your attention that in all likelihood it'll be next month. The law director did determine that that 27 Meadow Lane case does have to come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, Meadow Lane has
Remember that one that we
Yes.
discussed a while back? It will be coming back here in all likelihood next month.
Why is it coming back?
The law director determined that that is something that is reviewed by the BZA and not by the Planning Commission.
Okay, all right. But the Planning Commission did talk about it.
We did, and they asked for a legal opinion from the law director as to who was responsible for it,
Meadow Lane.
or who was responsible for hearing it, and the law
Okay.
director did determine it was in the BZA.
Okay, so in hearing it, though, they did talk about the fact that it was a PUD and that...
Yes, and
Okay.
I'll get more information from the law director or something,
Okay.
hopefully to explain why. Part of the reason may have been at the time the PUD was, that was a PUD. PUDs back then were under Title 23, which is something that is reviewed by the BZA. Now it's in Section Title 21 of our code. So that may have something to do with it, but I prefer to let him
Okay, all right, so
explain
you'll let us
exactly
know
why.
what we need to know.
But I can tell you it will be coming back here.
Okay, all
And
right.
that's
So
next
you're
month?
aware. I'm sorry?
Next month?
It's up to their attorney to decide, but as of right now, yes.
Is there anything else on the
On
document?
that agenda? Possibly, don't know yet.
What's the sign on Mill Street? What project is that for?
That is a Title 41 for a 18-unit apartment complex, the two houses that are there to be torn down. It will probably go for open communication on the 18th, and then I don't know if it'll go, actually, I wish Mr. Valencourt was still here. I don't know if it'll go to the Planning Commission, the meeting after, because that is our open meeting for the rezoning of on the far east side. So that's, we have an evening meeting on May 2nd. The rezoning meeting on the far east side, you've been.
Yeah.
I think it's May 2nd, we have a evening meeting at the community center to discuss the rezoning of the east side. So it's going to be up to, or I don't know if I shouldn't say up to them, I don't know if we'll put it on the agenda for that evening as well, but it is a Title 41.
So they're going to tear down two houses and ask for and put an 18-unit in there?
Correct.
Where is this?
Right down here on Mill Street?
Mill Street, just between Elliott and Hocking. 18 beds.
18 beds.
That's the one next to Kentucky Fried?
No, this
No.
is on Mill. not
Kind of across
extension.
the street from Christ the King and
Okay.
down a couple of
Yeah.
houses.
Anything else?
But that one, as of right now, this is all Title 41. It met all controls, so there are no variances being asked for that project.
We delayed till this meeting to select a chairperson for the remainder of the year.
We brought it up at a previous meeting 2 months ago, and we decided to think about it, I guess, and wait until another time.
According to the minutes, it was voted on that there would be a permanent position for the rest of the year, and that this next meeting would be when the people that are interested in it would put their names forward and that to be selected.
People who are interested, put your names forward.
We're not eligible for our names forward.
Okay. Mr. Gulsey doesn't seem to be willing to do it.
I think we should postpone it again until Joan and...
Okay, I think that's
Well, as you
fine.
talked to Joan said he's not interested to do it this year.
Okay.
And I think, Betty, if you are interested and
I-
committed and willing, then
It's not something that I am eager to do, but if we need somebody till the end of the year, I will agree to do that.
okay, then so it's done.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, okay. Okay. I do think that people have learned a lot by having a chance to be the chair, and makes you feel more participatory than simply waiting for your turn to vote. So,
And we all can help, anything that we can do,
Okay.
If you're not here.
Well, you seem to be anticipating a lot of work for me to do. Let's see. Okay. All right. Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Pesky?
Have there been sign permits asked for all these new high flapping banners along State Street? The car wash, the Sprint, are those temporary sign permits being
Yes.
issued for those?
Yes.
And how long is that temporary sign permit good for?
4 30-day periods.
4 30-day
30-day
periods.
periods.
They could be up to 120 days?
They can put them up for 30 days, take them down for a month if they wish, put them back up. They just have to identify to us what months they want to put them up. Many of them obviously do 4 consecutive months, especially in the summer.
What about the neon lamps, the lights, the signs, like the one on that new building
If
on
they're not,
Richmond
if they're
Avenue?
not flashing and they're inside, they're legal,
They're visible from outside for Memorial.
as long as it's not flashing, blinking.
So would you
Changing
consider
colors,
those big tall flag signs movable,
The ones blowing.
flappable, wiggable, shakeable? Yes or no?
No comment. I'll have to look into that, that's a good question.
Because movable signs are illegal, no matter temporary or not temporary. Signs with prices on them, even though they're in the back of a pickup truck.
Well, comment apparently. But do you have some notion of some property some business that might go into this property we discussed tonight? do they have somebody sort of lined up, or are they just hoping?
You guys were still, you haven't, the meeting's still going on, right?
Yes, okay, I think we adjourned.